Hey everyone, welcome back to Forget Me Not History Dive. I'm Caleb, and today we are in Pooler, Georgia, which is located in Chatham County. So we're at a cemetery here in Pooler called Newton Cemetery, and it was established in 1888. So as you can imagine, there are some pretty old headstones out here. Some of the individuals buried out here were born in the early 1800s. But before we get into the exploration of this cemetery, I just want to kind of give you some history of the area that we're in. So, as I mentioned, we're in Pooler, Georgia. Now, Pooler, Georgia began as an extremely small community back in 1838. In fact, it wasn't even really a community, it was the first stop on the Central Georgia Railroad. It was a station. It was named Pooler Station in honor of Robert William Pooler. Now, Robert William Pooler, he done a tremendous amount of work for the Central Georgia Railroad in helping lay out the route from Savannah to Macon. So the president, Gordon, of the Central Georgia Railroad, named this first station stop out of Savannah Pooler Station in honor of the work that Robert William Pooler had done. Now, in 1907, Pooler was officially incorporated. Even at that point, Pooler only had about 300 or more citizens in the area. So even in 1907, Pooler was still a relatively small community. In fact, in 1838, when it began as a very small, impoverished community with only about 200 people. So from 1838 to 1907, there was only a few hundred people growth that Pooler actually experienced. Now today, it's a lot different. Pooler's a very big, bustling city with lots of growth, but that's not originally how it began. One other interesting fact before we get into exploration out here is in 1864, Sherman, when he came through with his Union troops, he actually set up camp at Pooler Station. And that was his camp, and that was the place he began and prepared and drew all the troops in for his march to Savannah, which would have only been about a 15-mile march. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and share this video with your friends and family. Let's go explore. Been walking around, making my way towards the oldest part of the cemetery. There's a lot of graves out here. It's a pretty big cemetery. But hey, I just wanted to mention before we get to the oldest part of the cemetery and start exploring, so make sure and stay to the end because I found something really neat that I'm going to show y'all. It's a Woodman of the World headstone. And it's a cool one. So stick to the end. So guys, found what I believe to be the oldest part of Newton Cemetery. There's actually about 300 plus memorials out here. So of course we can't get to all of them today, but I especially wanted to show y'all the oldest part of the cemetery that I found. As I said, this is Newton Cemetery. I have found some Newtons buried here. So I would imagine this originally began as a family cemetery. Newtons being one of the original families in this area, which would have been the Pooler Station area. Here we have Lenora Powell Collins, 1856 to 1933. Stephen Hayes Collins, 1849 to 1910. And then buried back here behind this little azalea bush, we have Lee Ray Newton, born October 30th, 1888, died February 3rd, 1890. So Lee Ray was only 2 years old, looks like. Another little lamb has gone to dwell with him who gave. Epitaph: another little lamb has gone to dwell with him who gave. And then here we have a Sally E. Newton, born September 22nd, 1886, and died November 16th, 1888. The epitaph says God needed one more angel child amongst his something band. Yeah. Oh, shining. There we go. It's a lot harder to read this in person. There we go. God needed one more angel child amongst his shining band. That's neat. Here we have Sally A. Newton, born March 11th, 1853, died August 1st, 1889. Epitaph: a light from our household is gone, a voice we loved is still. And then Daniel C. Newton, February 28th, 1851, died February 17th, 1944. And of course, Footstone says father. I don't see any writing on this one, but I would assume that this was the mother. See, they were both born 1851, 1853. Maybe Sally Newton was his first wife that passed away. I'm not sure. But we see Daniel C. Newton. He was a Mason. You can see the emblem up at the top of the stone. Then next door we have some more Newtons. Old ant beds. Got this one covered up. Says Eva Tootle Newton, August 17th, 1894 to January 24th, 1975. And then Joseph Harold Sr., February 16th, 1884 to September 9th, 1948. And then here we have a father and mother. Tarver. We have Range Wright Tarver, born September 18th, 1893, died August 30th, 1963. And then we have his wife, which I would assume is a Newton maiden name, Lillian Newton Tarver, born March 1st, 1899, died February 18th, 1993. My beloved wife, Stella E. Tyson, died February 28th, 1890. She was 31 years old, 1 month, and 3 days. Wow. it was actually a lot more common back then for people to die at such young ages. You know, today when someone passes away at 30 years old, we're like, man, they were so young, and it's not as common. But I guess back then, you know, death and disease were just so rampant that, you know, I'm sure it was a horrible grieving process as it is today. But as I walk through these old cemeteries, I tend to see people dying at an early age so much more common back then. This is a neat obelisk headstone. It belongs to Louisa B. Powell, born June 8th, 1827, died June 5th, 1897. And the epitaph says, "'Twas hard to give thee up, but thy will, O God, be done." And then below it, we see she was the mother. Another young adult here. In memory of Lucy Powell, died August 28th, 1890. Age 24 years, 8 months, and 24 days. Though lost to sight, to memory dear. We have another Powell, James Irwin Powell, born March 15th, 1851, died September 30th, 1993. And then at the bottom it just says Powell. I love the old obelisk style headstones. It's always neat to see them. And here we have another Mason. You can see the symbol at the top. This memorial is to A.W. Powell, or A.Y. Powell, sorry, my husband, born June 18th, 1851, and died May 6th, 1894. Alright guys, well this is the original part of the cemetery. As I mentioned, the cemetery was established in 1888, and I believe these two headstones right here that are buried back behind this azalea are the oldest ones. They're the first ones out here. We have a Lee Ray Newton. He was buried in 1890. Oh no, sorry, here we go. Sally A. Newton, or Sally E. Newton. She was buried November 16th, 1888. That's the year this cemetery was established, so she may be the first one to be buried out here. Still out here exploring. I did want to mention one thing that I thought about. It's kind of neat. Right down the road from us, well, you know, not right down the road, but a few miles from us is actually another community called Monteith. And the cool thing about that area is there was actually the battle at Monteith Swamp. It was around 300 Confederates against Sherman's 12,000 Union troops. So Sherman's troops were actually camped out here in Pooler, at Pooler Station, and the Confederacy kind of made a last stand against Sherman's troops before we went into Savannah, and that was at Monteith Swamp. Of course, the battle didn't last very long, and as you can imagine, the Confederates did not win. There was actually some Confederates that were killed. Not sure how many there was, but the general area of where we're at, that battle took place a few miles from here. I tell you guys, it went from sunshine to clouding up extremely quick. Hope I don't get rained on. So I found this tucked back here and all this growth. Headstone to Robert A. Stokes, who was born June 28, 1865 and died July 16, 1926. And then a Mary L. Stokes, born June 4th, 1876, August 2nd, 1903. And then buried way back here, I know it's annoying on the camera, but y'all bear with me for a second. I gotta fight my way through all the sticks. I'm gonna end up getting bit by chiggers and ticks being back here. Here we have a Richard A. Stokes, born June 12th, 1836. Fell asleep in, I can't read that part, November 25th, died November 25th, 1896 from what I can tell. 18, yeah, I think that's a 3 right there. 1835 to 1896. Richard A. Stokes. These are always sad to see. This memorial's crushed. There's a few rocks laying around. I turned them over and looked at them, but I can't distinguish what any of it says. But all I can see is it looks like the death date was 1908. That's the only thing that's still readable on there today. So yeah, guys, there's a lot of memorials out here. A lot of them fairly new. A lot of them fairly old. Of course, lots of Spanish moss, which is, you know, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotypical for a coastal Georgia cemetery. Alright guys, I found some more buried behind the bushes. Seem to have a knack for finding these and discovering them. My new favorite thing to do in a cemetery. Let's see. It says, my beloved sister, Roxy Ouida Lewis, August 11th, 1888, February 14th, 1956. Pretty sure I pronounced her name wrong. And then Annie Josephine Hogan, November 18th, 1898, died March 3rd, 1960. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Well, guys, I appreciate you sticking to the end of the video. And right now, I'm going to show you one of the neat things that I found out here. I love hunting down Woodmen of the World memorials, and I actually found 2 out here. So for you who don't know, Woodmen of the World, it was actually kind of a society, fraternity back in the day, and people paid fees to be a part of it. And one of the benefits that they reaped from being a part of it was upon death, they received a headstone from the Woodmen of the World Society, and most of them have the emblem on it. So there are a few that don't have the Woodmen of the World emblem, and They kind of look like them, but those were just knockoff. They're still cool, but they were kind of knockoff brands, knockoff versions that various companies made. These are actually pretty unique. I haven't seen any like this before. Usually they have them like in a stump version. You'll see a stump coming up, and then they'll have all kinds of things etched into the stone. But these are just regular granite stones. So let's take a look. So the first one, here it is. It is to Walker M. Dunn, born December 8th, 1879, and died June 4th, 1917. And as you can see, Woodman of the World Memorial. There's the emblem at the top. It's a gigantic granite stone. That's neat. I haven't seen one like that before. And then there's another one right up here. I'm not sure if there was some graves here at one point. I'm not sure, but there's this big, large open area where there's nothing. And then this one was really neat that I found. This is another Woodman of the World. And this actually belongs to, pull this bush out of the way for a second, William X. Bleakney, M.D., born October 17th, 1849, born October 5th, 1920, or 1912, at rest. And then at the top, we have the Woodman of the World emblem, and it says, Tecet Clement. I would assume that's Latin, and I would assume that I did not pronounce it correctly. So let me know, guys, what y'all think. But I mean, I'm assuming that this William X. Bleakney was an MD, a medical doctor. I'm not sure if at that time period the MD could have stood for something else. But my guess is William X was a medical doctor in this area. He died in 1912. So he was about middle-aged when he passed away, it looks like. Just wanted to give you guys a kind of a panoramic view of Newton Cemetery here in Pooler. Now we are right next to the runway for the Savannah Airport. So since I've been here, I'm sure y'all have heard it in the video already. I've been trying to avoid it, but the jets landing constantly is extremely loud. Yeah, as y'all can see, it's a fairly large cemetery. According to Find a Grave, there's about, I think, 348 memorials out here. And here we have another memorial to a veteran, Theodore Roosevelt Crawford Jr., U.S. Army, born July 6, 1938, died February 20th, 2020. Our beloved Ted. Well, guys, it's starting to rain now, so I'm going to have to pack up. Pretty much got the whole cemetery covered. Jump down off this ledge. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope y'all enjoyed the video today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And we'll be back in a few weeks with another video. Thank y'all.